Ireland, an ancient land, filled with wonder.
I absolutely love it. I mean, we live in paradise.
I've dived all over the world. I've never seen anything like it before.
The country's national parks are the guardians of this landscape. They display the stunning habitats and incredible wildlife. And they celebrate the rich history of this island.
These secret places were absolutely vital to their survival.
The amazing thing about this garden, the layers of history that have been added to it have enhanced it.
But these are also places visited by millions. In each episode, we'll soar above two of these parks to witness the traditions they maintain.
There's very little difference in what I'm doing here now and what they did 100 years ago.
To follow the vital work they champion.
If we don't look after it and care about it, it's not going to be here for much longer.
And to marvel at the natural beauty they protect. At the heart of Ireland's west coast stand two national parks separated by less than 50 kilometres. Connemara and Wild Nathan. For millennia, the exposed, windswept lands near that coastline stood as the edge of the known world. But while this was once a remote, untamed wilderness, it grew into an area rich in stories and tradition. The two parks shine a light on this region's character and significance. The northernmost of this pair is Wild Nathan, home to one of Ireland's largest wilderness areas. A beguiling, peaceful landscape that hides many treasures of the past, some of which have been left undisturbed for thousands of years. To its south lies Connemara, a place deeply connected to the local community, and a favourite spot along the Wild Atlantic Way tourist trail that stretches the length of the country. This region's relationship with the ocean has long shaped its history. But over 100 years ago, well before the establishment of the national parks, it was not so much the Atlantic, more Connemara's proximity to the land beyond it, that drew the world's attention to this once little-known area.
The Vickers steaming machine in which John Alcock and Arthur Whitten Brown flew the Atlantic. It was the first time a direct, non-stop air crossing had been made.
The pioneering airmen may have mistaken Connemara's bogland for a firm, grassy landing site. But by touching down here, they were able to spread word of their success almost instantly, as this area's proximity to North America meant it was home to another world first. In the northwest of Connemara National Park stands its iconic peak, which gained its name from the glinting quartz crystals peppering its exposed features. More than a century ago, Guglielmo Marconi, the Italian-Irish inventor and pioneer of wireless communication, stood upon these slopes and looked out across the Atlantic. And in doing so, he spied an opportunity that would help revolutionize the way we live.
We don't really use radio for intercontinental communications. It's kind of been forgotten about. But for the first 60 years of the 20th century, it was the way phone calls were made, messages were sent. It was the internet of its day.
In 1907, almost 15 kilometres from here, near the town of Clifton, Marconi had opened the first commercial transatlantic telegraph service to use wireless technology. 4 years later, he came here to test a new idea.
I'm researching for a book about the history of the local Marconi station. And every time I visit the Diamond, I always hopefully try and find some new piece of evidence. And we're just checking this area. There was 3 masts in this area roughly behind us. We're just going to have a look and see what we can see.
At the time, telegrams sent along undersea cables were connecting the world. Empires, governments, royalty, the average person in the street. Messages that had previously taken weeks to reach their destination now took almost no time at all. But Marconi knew how to take this to the next level and make a little money along the way. Having already proven radio could be heard across these distances in 1901, Marconi's Clifton site was primed to undercut the expensive undersea cable companies by charging 5 pence per word sent, half the going rate. But there was a problem. His technology was limited. It could only send or receive.
So Marconi was getting more telegrams they could handle, so he decided there has to be a way of sending and receiving at the same time. So he came here to Diamond Hill. He treated this area, these hills, as a giant laboratory. And the more I research it, the more you can't help but fall in love with it. You know, the fact that we all have a mobile phone in our pocket, you know, one only has to ask, well, how did that phone get in our hands?
Marconi needed to develop something called a full duplex system, but this had never been done before.
When you make a mobile phone call today, this is full duplex. Half duplex is like using your walkie-talkie. You can only transmit, you cannot receive it together.
Soon the slopes, the ridgeline, and the land beyond were draped in some 5,000 metres of copper and bronze wire.
There was a line of mast running right up along this ridgeline to the top of the Diamond and over it, and down to the receiving room where all of the experimentation took place. And we know one of the masts was here because over here we have the remains, one of the few remains of Marconi here on the ground. This is one of the anchor supports for the mast.
The ambition was to somehow block out the outgoing radio chatter of the nearby transmitter station in Clifton, while still hearing the signal sent from the other side of the Atlantic. After half a year of trial and error, at the base of the hill, finally, a clean transmission was received.
There's nowhere else on Earth where something like this took place. They figured out how to do it and make our modern telecommunications world possible.
Through the 20th century, radio spread the news of historic events. It connected people, and it sparked the transformation of our world through the use of electronics. So in 1919, it wasn't just the touchdown of that pioneering transatlantic flight that came with a jolt, but also the news of this historic moment as it was fired out from a bog on the west coast of Ireland. Despite Connemara's somewhat surprising history at the forefront of technological progress, it remains a place where culture and tradition are held dear. Connemara sits within County Galway, where 50% of residents can still speak Irish, the highest proportion of any county in the country. Tight-knit communities are vital to the survival of the old ways, and in the small village at the base of Diamond Hill is a venue that's helping keep alive a different link to the past.
Yeah, Irish traditional music is extremely popular, creates community, and it's an important part of Irish culture. It's in a very healthy place, you know. It'll never die. The future of it is very safe.
Letterfrack has garnered a reputation as a place that supports and promotes traditional music. But for Luke, it was a national park that first piqued his interest.
My desire to learn the accordion was at the National Park, the first time where I seen the accordion being played.
And now he returns the favour for others.
So that's why you play it, you know, to bring joy to people and experience joy. I play music sometimes in the National Park for events like Culture Night. Sometimes on weekends, like on a Sunday, we kind of play outdoors there and people having their lunch can just come by and listen and have a bit of a dance if they feel like it.
While this area has just a few hundred full-time residents, it's known for the strength of its community. And ever since the National Park opened, it has helped bolster this.
A really important part of the community here. It brings so many people into the community, and yeah, it's a very special place, National Park.
Like the wider area beyond its borders, much of the national park still retains the feel of a wild, untamed landscape.
Look around you. There's no intensive agriculture. There's no intensive industry. Look at the mountains, the Connemara National Park.
In a few areas, that wildness has been harnessed. And down where the land and sea collide are the bountiful results of a perfect storm.
Every oyster takes the flavour from the bay it's grown in. Think of the nutrients being gathered all the way from the Gulf of Mexico, all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, flow down into Ballynakill Bay and fuse with the waters coming in from the national park. That's what gives our oysters their unique flavour.
The oysters here take 3 years to grow, from seed to the desired size for harvest. But within that time, the 15,000 mesh bags the oysters are grown in are turned twice a month. And when it's time for harvest, they're moved to another area of the bay. Each day is a race against the clock to get the work done.
We always start at this every day because, as you can see, we're working out with the tide. And then once the boats can no longer move, once they get dried out, they'll head off and do another job.
Proximity to freshwater sources, exposure to the tide and surface water movement. These factors influence the shape of the shell and the meat content of the oysters.
The growth this season is just, it's phenomenal. It's nearly too much, you know, to keep on top of it. It's hard work. But yeah, we're getting there slowly. But the oysters, they're good, they're top quality there now.
The final stint of an oyster's time in the bay is spent on a higher area of the shoreline, where they feel the change in tides more acutely, and their shells toughen as a result.
These oysters are coming in to be hardened off so we can grade them for sale in around about 3-4 weeks' time.
By doing that, they concentrate on themselves, which they fatten themselves up, which is good for the consumer, really. You know, and that's what we're doing here today.
Okay, are they tied on, yeah?
The farm here has been going since 1893. And just as it's always been, with the tide almost out, the team's time in the water is up. Unlike the old days, however, the business today doesn't solely rely upon the harvest.
The relationship with the park is very positive. The number of visitors who visit the park every year, it's phenomenal. And we obviously then they come down and they visit the tour. That sort of synergy between the two.
Oyster farming is not a long-established tradition in this region. In the past, for most, the land, not the sea, would have provided work and sustenance. But to farm this terrain successfully required the help of a particular animal.
I don't think that you can get much more Irish than the Connemara pony. They're so much part of our past, our present, and our future. We're very proud of our Connemara ponies.
Some claim the breed came to Ireland with the arrival of the Celts. Others suggest Vikings brought them here, while a few even claim they're descendants of horses that swam to shore from the sinking ships of the Spanish Armada in the 16th century. The more recent heritage of the park's herd, however, is a little more certain, as Cathy and Martin have been managing and breeding them for many generations, including these two brood mares.
Aha, you see a bucket, don't you? Yes, good girl.
Revered for their kind nature, but also their strength and sure-footedness across the uneven, boggy terrain, this breed is a symbol of the region, and as such, the national park has been home to a family of Connemara ponies since the 1980s.
We attempt to breed the very best of the Connemara pony, so they exemplify the true to type traits. So the people come and they see, well, this is what a true Connemara pony looks like. In the past, nearly every farm in this area would have had to have a Connemara pony. It was part of the tradition, it was part of their working system to have a pony to help them survive on their farms.
But when the Great Famine brought Ireland to its knees in the middle of the 19th century, this breed also suffered and its population plummeted.
As you look around, you can see that the landscape here is tough, and that reflects the sort of life that the people here had. The people had very little food for themselves, and so it was obvious they'd have very little food for the ponies as well. And so the ponies had to be very tough to survive. They had to work while living on the bare minimum.
In the 1920s, a formal breeders' association was founded to ensure the future of this pony. Its story since has been one of great success. Albeit not on the farm, but competing at events in front of a devoted audience. And the biggest show of all is found just a few kilometres down the road.
To win in Clifton, that is the pinnacle of success. If you can win in Clifton with your Connemara pony, then you can die happy.
The Connemara Pony Festival can be traced back to 1924, and for over 75 years now, the town of Clifton has been its home.
First place, number 2.
This festival is the ultimate show for your Connemara pony. This is where you bring your best of best Connemaras. From in-hand to show jumping to carriage driving, it's here. It's a fabulous, fabulous event, yeah, and a great platform for our native pony.
Having come back from the brink, today the breed is thriving, and their success is placing Connemara on the world stage once more.
No. There's a lot of interest in them globally. There's ponies in Sweden, Norway, France, China, America. Yeah, they're in big demand.
But at a more local level, these ponies are still rewarding their owners with the same loyalty and hard work that they've always been known for.
This is my 13-1 little brood mare. She won her class today. This was her very first show, so I'm absolutely delighted. Who couldn't fall in love with this breed? They're so kind, they're so reliable, they're so versatile, sure-footed, and they're a gorgeous pony.
Heading north, away from Connemara, lies one of the West Coast's most spectacular scenes, Clew Bay. Feeding this area are the waters that flow down from the surrounding mountains, including those streams and rivers that begin their journey in the Nafanbeg Range. The peaks of which form the backbone of Wild Navan National Park. The park is home to an area once famously described as the loneliest place in Ireland. It's a land that offers escape, or, as has sometimes been required in the past, a place to hide out. In the east of Wildnathan, head guide Michael Chambers is returning to an area he has spent years exploring, and where his family played a part in the local history.
So I remember when the mountains came alive to me as a young man. My father stopping me by a silver stream and pointing out to the mountains where his father had brought Irish volunteers that disappeared into the mountains without a trace.
From 1919, the Irish War of Independence enveloped the country in conflict, even drawing in its remote wilds.
As the years passed, I took it upon myself to go and explore these mountains to see could I find evidence of some of these stories.
Marion Dowd first came to the park 8 years ago, after Michael's search for war remains unearthed something far older.
Marion, how are you?
Great,
it's great to see you. I'm ready to come back.
Thank you. It's been ages.
Yeah, it's great to get you up here.
That previous discovery made headlines across the country. And today, Marion's come back to investigate a new site containing a collection of bones that Michael uncovered almost 200 vertical metres above the valley, close to the top of Correenmore Hill.
Let's just say I'm glad I started going to the gym last January.
Tucked away up here with a commanding view over the area, this cave would have made an ideal hideout for anyone on the run. Fighting between the Irish Republican Army and British forces ended with partition in 1921. But civil war followed.
Coming up to the centenary of the revolutionary period, I started looking at how the IRA had been using caves as part of guerrilla warfare and using caves as dugouts where they could hide out while they were on the run.
The entrance to the caves there.
This looks amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of people would have thought this was just a dead end, and it opens up into a large chamber inside.
Looking for evidence of this cave's use, Marion and Michael gradually worked their way through.
It's very typical for what you might expect from a War of Independence dugout. Certainly areas where 10, 12 men could easily have stayed for days or weeks on end if necessary. There's lots of animal bone in here. Some of that would be natural occurrences, but some of it may also relate to food that was consumed in the cave during the 1920s.
Dotted across Ireland are around 1,000 caves, but the Irish Republican Army were far from the first to explore these secret underground realms.
Caves tend to have collections of stories through time. It's just layer after layer of story.
When Michael brought Marion to the National Park 8 years ago, it wasn't animal bones that she was examining. It was human bones.
Michael was the first person to step into that cave in about 5,500 years.
The discovery was of national importance. The team had unearthed fragments of bone belonging to at least 10 individuals. That included 4 children and an infant. And further analysis revealed that the site could have been used for over 1,500 years.
It tells us that this was a really important primary place for processing the dead in prehistoric times.
The clues Marion is searching for here, however, don't require tests in the lab. Instead, all that's needed is an eye for detail.
I suppose what I'm looking for are things like cut marks to see if there's any sign of butchery. And yeah, it looks like you've got one here. So that's a butchered rib. So that's what you're looking at there, is a joint of meat as opposed to, you know, an animal that's fallen in here.
That's amazing, all those amazing stories from a few bones that we can piece together that bit of history.
Yeah.
Hidden away in the wilds of Ireland, there are thousands more of these old dugouts. There's just a small matter of finding them. To the west of the Nafanbeg Range lies the largest intact Atlantic blanket bog in Western Europe. Part of a sprawling grassy wetland divided by rivers and streams. And it has proved a valuable source of inspiration for one writer.
I'm finding this place just keeps drawing me back. These landscapes and these rivers really inspire me. They're not just about fish and wilderness, they're also about a human experience here.
Although once utilised for cattle grazing, tillage, fishing and hunting, the Great Famine, mass emigration and other factors all contributed to this area emptying. But in the void left behind, an opportunity has arisen. The chance to renew and protect the health of this landscape.
The National Park has brought a whole new level of expertise and interest into these areas.
Nature has become the guiding force here once again. It's something the importance of which is easy to appreciate.
It's obviously one of the great scandals of our time that so many of our rivers are not in good shape. Rivers are polluted or neglected or are overexploited. So wherever you have a wild river like this, it is a great treasure. It is something to be celebrated.
For today's fishing, however, there'll be no fanfare. While he usually practices a catch and release approach to fishing, Sean hasn't had so much as a bite at the end of the line.
There have also been many, many blank days, and that really does sharpen your appetite for the fishing, and it makes the good days even more special.
The river was rain, then rain for a second day. The dripping heather and every shining stone for 14 miles were flowing towards the sea through the passage of a famous bait stream. Alone on the moor, an angler moved through all of this, carrying a silver salmon hanging from his fist in fulfillment of its own weight of light.
While the southeastern edge of the national park lies around 10 kilometers from the coastline, for one species of fish, that stretch is just a tiny portion of a far longer journey. At the end of winter each year, wild Atlantic salmon take part in one of nature's most remarkable migrations.
It's an amazing species. Spawns here in the national park, makes its way out to the Atlantic Ocean, swims thousands of miles, finds its way back up to the stream that it was born in, and starts the cycle again.
Salmon rely on the Earth's magnetic field and a keen sense of smell to find their way home. But for those heading to the national park, they'll first have to go to this stretch of river, where the Marine Institute have established a checkpoint.
So we have the Atlantic Ocean on that side, and we have freshwater on that side. So the National Park, Wild Neffin National Park, is up there. So every salmon that is moving between freshwater and the sea has to go through this trap. There's a few here.
Very good. We'll go sample.
Before they're allowed to continue upstream, a few measurements will need to be taken. Every salmon is catalogued and recorded, and the data collected feeds into one of the longest running Atlantic salmon censuses.
Patro's the one there because he's really good at handling fish.
Thank you, Oliver.
So we can't hold them for too long out of the water. So we have a very good routine going that we can get through it quickly and not forget anything.
It's not very easy to catch these customers. They're after coming on a long journey, so all they want to do is go up to fresh water. Well, we got one here.
With the clock now ticking, Pat and Elvira have less than a minute to take their measurements.
That is a nice fish. So we're just going to find out whether it's male or female and take our samples. That's a male. Silver 2, Elvira.
We count them, we measure them, take their length.
The size of the fish gives an indication of its reproductive ability.
We'll take some scales to say the age of the fish.
Similar to tree rings, the number of concentric rings on their scales indicates the fish's age.
TSU, Elvira, 4039.
We'll also take a small sample of flesh off the tail for a genetic analysis.
The salmon run begins here in June and lasts right the way through August. These stragglers mark the end of the season. But during its peak, the team can process as many as 80 salmon a day. As well as keeping tabs on the salmon, the Marine Institute are also monitoring the water quality of the national park's rivers.
So in here we have a lot of water samples that we've taken of macroinvertebrates, which are the small little insects that you find in all the rivers and lakes in the country, and they're the salmon food. So it's good to get an idea of what the salmon are eating, and they're also a really good indicator of the water quality in the rivers that the salmon are living in.
The population of Irish Atlantic salmon has decreased by 90% since records began in 1975. Overfishing, climate change, and habitat degradation are all to blame.
So there's multiple stressors, and they're probably indicative of every other species in freshwater and the marine, but because they're migratory and they have these two habitats, they're kind of getting a double whammy in both habitats.
In 2018, the national park grew by over 40%, with almost 5,000 hectares of mountain and former conifer plantations added to its land, which included some upstream sections of the salmon rivers. The reason for expansion was to support the restoration of this habitat.
We were really excited to hear about the national park because it gives us a chance to think about ecological restoration at a landscape scale, so the kind of scale that you need to have a positive impact on things like salmon populations. And we hope and presume that as the decades go past, we're going to see this in our long-term data that we're collecting here in the Marine Institute.
Part of the reason the size of the park can be increased by so much is that Wildnafen sits within County Mayo, which has no large cities and is one of the less densely populated areas in the country. The national park is even said to contain the most remote place in Ireland, a point which stands some 8 kilometres from the nearest road. For many, the chance to be immersed in this beauty and wildness is reason enough to visit. But others come to marvel at a consequence of this remoteness that's only visible once the sun has set.
We bring people out to give them an experience of obviously the skyscapes above, but not just that, it's about experiencing natural darkness, which so many people rarely get the chance to do now because of the growth of artificial light at night.
Despite being a gold-tier international dark sky park, sadly, there's no guarantee that the park's weekly dark sky walk won't be hampered by a few rain clouds.
We'll look at the summer triangle, Molly, over here. So it's the stars of Vega and Altair and Deneb.
Wildnafen is Ireland's only national park where the dark skies are protected. In a world where 80% of the global population live under light-polluted skies, for one member of tonight's group, it's crystal clear how important such protection is.
You're enveloped by this dome of stars, and the feeling that you get from that is really so special. Aurora Borealis, shooting stars, the Milky Way. All these things really entice me out and make me want to share that feeling of joy with someone who looks at my images. having a space where I can do that, where it's dark, there's no interruption from man-made light, it really lets you see the real wonder and awe of the night sky.
Found in this once remote area at the edge of the world, the two national parks of Wildnafen and Connemara protect not only a landscape, but also the stories that shaped the coastal region. And while they offer a chance to peer into that remarkable past, perhaps the most important experience they preserve is a true sense of the wildness that once defined this land.